So recently, Jeremy Corbyn challenged Theresa May to a TV debate. I didn't think Theresa May would take it, but apparently she has accepted. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to pretend that I'm a political advisor to both of those people. So my advice to Theresa May, if she does actually end up going through with this, is quite simple: don't do it. It's that simple. I actually want to see this, but if I was advising Theresa May, I would say don't do it. Why? Well, here's the thing. Jeremy Corbyn's going to come with facts. He's going to come with reality. And reality is not Theresa May's best friend. Every public promise that she has made since taking office, she's broken. She recently came out saying that they were going to do more for policing. Well, Theresa May has done a hell of a lot of damage to the police, and in response of police being attacked in the street, there's nothing. There's silence, just empty words as usual. So, given that she's going to be put in a situation where a huge number of the population is going to be watching, this isn't like Prime Minister's Question Times when it's only if you can watch it you do. A lot of people are going to be watching this, and there's already a build up to it because it's the leader of the opposition directly debating the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister who has not done what's best for the country, whose Brexit deal is awful for the country, who has given away human rights, who has in fact very recently brought up the notion that it's okay to get rid of a few human rights as long as we're protecting the country from terrorists. This is the same woman who years ago said that we couldn't get rid of a terrorist in this country, a well-known terrorist in this country, because he had a cat. That was an outright lie. Now, either she knew it was an outright lie, or she didn't bother to do the research and made herself look like a complete incompetent moron. So for her, I'd say don't do it. It's not in your best interest. You're gonna do more damage to yourself. As a lefty, I'm all for that though. But for Corbyn, now, this you do kind of have to take with a pinch of salt, because while I'm all for Corbyn to do this debate, I think for him it's a good move. He said that he'd like to do it on ITV. Now, here's where I would have the issue with that. Yes, it's all very well and good thinking about the people watching it. It's all very well and good thinking, well, you know, people are going to be watching, I don't know, I'm a Celebrity or something like that, and then they can watch it rather than picking one or the other. But the channel does actually matter, because who's going to be there moderating the debate? And the reason why I wouldn't go to ITV is the same reason why I wouldn't go to BBC, is because they have very, very strong bias. Now, ITV and BBC ultimately are owned by a couple of families. They are owned either by the Murdochs or by the Mercers. These are incredibly right-leaning families, incredibly wealthy families, and most of the media you're exposed to is owned by them. It comes from them, which is why you get a very narrow-driven stream of information. For example, BBC did not cover, or did a piss-poor job of covering, the UN report. Instead, they focused on the wildfires in America. Now, I agree that is an important topic, but for the average Englishman, for the average UK citizen, poverty in the UK is far more important than a fire in a foreign land. But that doesn't serve the best interest of conservative politics. It doesn't serve the best interest of those who exclusively look after the wealthy. And the Mercers, the Murdochs, are wealthy. They have bought our politicians, or at least bought most of our politicians, so they don't want people focusing on that. The problem with ITV Once upon a time, it was the channel of Sir Trevor MacDonald, a journalist with astonishing integrity and decorum. Now it's the channel of Piers Brosnan, a man who did an interview with Steve Bannon, a well-known white supremacist, and didn't challenge him on a single abhorrent view that man has or pushes. Didn't challenge him on any of the BS stories that he constantly put out. A man who constantly defends Donald Trump, even after the horrors that he's done. And I could start listing them off. In fact, I have listed a few of them off in a dedicated video, but that video is getting way too long and I hadn't even scratched the surface. Piers is very good at pushing the exact same sentence over and over again, but he's not good at taking in the response. And if it's a non-satisfactory response to him, he'll keep going. You can tell him he's got his facts wrong. He can have his facts wrong, and yet he'll keep pushing the exact same question because he wants you to be wrong and him to be right. He wants to paint people in a bad light if they're not his friends. So if it was someone like Piers, that's not going to go too well for Jeremy Corbyn, because I can already see the conversation going, well, Corbyn, you're anti-Semitic, aren't you? No, he's not. Well, Corbyn, you're anti-Semitic. No, you're anti-Semitic. You're anti-Semitic. You're anti-Semitic. Over and over and over again, and that would be the timing gone. All on something that has been debunked over and over and over and over again. I'd say maybe Channel 4, but even Channel 4 does have its issues. Certainly independent media would be a much better outlet for that. And let's face it, we are moving into the age where everyone has a smartphone, where everyone has access to the internet. So that could be possible. But unfortunately in the UK, there is not this massive independent media that isn't upholdent to multi-billionaires. So it does have to go to one. So I'd say the best pick of the litter would be Channel 4, rather than picking it entirely on how many views you can get, how good the ratings would be. You should pick really on who's going to be fair and balanced. If Corbyn's done something wrong in his past, I want that brought up. But at the same time, I want Theresa May to be called out for what she's done in the last 2 years. And this is before we go back to her completely ignoring the police, telling her, look, if you cut funding to the police, we're going to have a rise in crime, before she became Prime Minister. And that's exactly what happened. So I want fairness. I want impartial. I really want to see this go ahead. But again, it depends who's moderating. Because if it's someone who does lean to the right, Corbyn's not going to end up looking that well. In fact, Corbyn will get slated and Theresa May will think that she's won some massive thing. Someone to left will focus more on Corbyn's accomplishments rather than his pitfalls, and just expose Theresa May. Now, I have no problem with exposing Theresa May, but I want fairness. I want a fair and level playing field for this. But that's where I stand, that's where I think, and that's the advice I would give. Theresa May, don't do it, because you're damn stupid and reality is not your friend. And Corbyn, don't do it on ITV. Not ITV, not BBC. Now let's face it, you could set up your own YouTube channel and people would watch this debate regardless of which side of the aisle they're on. That's my 2 cents.